Yeah, thanks for popping in. And today we're reviewing the Campagnolo subcompact, which is a 48-30 tooth crankset. And what we're going to ask is, does it work with 11 speed? And who's this crank for? Yeah, Campagnolo released the Chorus 12-speed a few months ago, and it was available with a subcompact crankset. And this crankset, I've just got my hands on. I did order it probably about 3 or 4 months ago, but like a lot of the stuff in the bike industry, when they release it is not when it's available from the distributors. But all's well now. It's come through the mail, and I've got my hot little hands on it, so that's fantastic. And it's a beautiful looking piece of kit. And it has that really slick looking aerodynamic look, and they've removed the center hole from the crankset. So it has that more kind of, I don't know, it's I would say more kind of modernized sort of alien type look, if that's the right word for it. Well, anyway, that's my impressions of it. Now, I've just got this whacked on the bike, and this was only a couple of days ago, so I've only done a couple of rides on it. And this is my first impressions of this crankset. It looks very well made, as does a lot of Campagnolo stuff, and it is in their higher order group set. It's part of the new 12-speed system, and it has the same operation as the Record and Super Record on the Campagnolo. Now, the reason why I specifically picked this crankset is because I don't do a lot of group rides, and I also commute a lot, and quite often I ride in quite horrible conditions. So, you know, I'm riding in strong winds, and where I live in Perth, we have quite strong winds. So you go into headwind, and you like to have those easy gears. And especially if you've got a headwind and you're going uphill, you just want to have those easy gears. Now, I'm not a super fit guy. I'm getting on in age, and I can't put out 350 watts. So gears like this work better for me. And when I'm commuting at my 30 to 32 kilometre hour speed, I don't find that the chain is sitting over one side of the cassette. With this type of setup, it sits more in the middle, and I like that because for chain wear and alignment and so forth. Now, as the cranks come out as a 12-speed, the first question for me was, because I'm running 11-speed Campagnolo, is will it work? And I asked my mechanic in the bike shop, and he says I can't see why not. So we ordered it, and we got it on the bike. And what I found is it does. It works perfectly. It changes the front, changes quite well. The only thing I have noticed is that it does create a bit more noise than the original crank that's designed for the 11-speed. Now, I don't know if this is just a wearing in period. Well, I have to see, and I'll get back to you on that. But at the moment, it does produce a little bit of noise coming from that crankset. I don't know why that is, but maybe it's because the teeth are slightly narrower and the chain slightly wider, but as far as operational concerns goes, it works perfectly. And the second point we're going to cover today is, who is a crank like this for? I mean, you've got those people who will always say, hey, yeah, just get fitter and increase your watts. And also, in a lot of circumstances, you're taking away top speed. So what do you want to do that for? Well, the reality is, this is the way I look at it, is you can always roll down a hill. Okay, if you're down a hill and, you know, you can go into the tuck, yeah, maybe you can't get downhill quite as fast as the other people in the group. But is that really such a big issue? Because you're only really running out of legs around about 50 kilometres an hour. But you can't roll up the hill. So if you haven't got the gears for your fitness to get up the hill, you're basically buggered. And the other great thing about these subcompact cranks, should I say, not compact, is that they're really good if you want to add something to your bike. So you want to use your bike as a bit of a touring, you want to go somewhere, you want to put more gear on the bike, then these sorts of gearings are really good because you can fit, your gear on, and the bike is heavier, but you've got the gears to be able to ride at a slower speed and still keep your cadence. You're not trying to lower your cadence and push the pedals hard, especially when you're going up hills. So first, impressions conclusion is the product looks really nice, and it on the bike it does feel nice. You can actually feel it's got that little bit of extra gear when you're in the big ring, and it sort of feels like you've got a one times but with another cog to go on to, because I run 1136 on the back and I'm running the Campagnolo HO derailleur, which is the medium cage, and that accommodates a 36 on my Campagnolo C60 quite well. And I've also had the same setup on a Fonda Crest TF1 team, so I imagine it would fit on many bikes. So I've got quite easy gearing, so you've got 11 to 36 just off the big cog, and that gives you quite a big variation. And you only really need to go that little gear when you sort of just want to go slow, or you're riding on the footpath, or you've got a big incline where you've got your bike loaded up. So for me, it feels a lot more practical. I don't ride around, pushing out 300 and 350 watts. Some people can do that, and of course, they would get the crankset and the gearing to suit that. They could probably run a 1125, 1128 with a 5339 on the front. And if you can push those gears, that's fine. But for the average weekend warrior that maybe rides just a couple of times a week and doesn't take it too seriously, I really do think that these subcompact cranksets with a big cassette on the back, like a 32 or a 36, is really the way to go, because it makes your cycling so much easier. And if you don't want to push, you just want to go slow and putt around, then you can do that. If you want to put stuff on your bike, extra weight, then you can do that as well. And you don't feel like you're struggling to push the bike along. Well, anyway, thanks for popping in and checking out the new Campagnolo 4842 crankset. If you get one, let us know down below, or what you think of going to these smaller cranksets. What's your opinion? I'd love to get your feedback. Cheers. Catch you later.